Hello, I'm Rebecca Flaherty and today I'm going to be showing you how to use this trailing floral template to make this pattern here. This particular template is one of a set of 6 which you can find in my Etsy store, but if you want to have a go for free, you can find this template here in my freebie library and follow along with that one. This is a more advanced level tutorial, so if you've never made a pattern using the diamond method before, then I suggest checking out this video first as it covers everything in more detail and at a slower pace. So let's get started. From the gallery screen here, I'm going to import the third template into Procreate. And as I said in the other videos, the reason this is saved with nothing showing is it keeps the file size down. So let's turn that back on and then all your layers are visible. So this canvas has all the same layer structure as I use for my normal diamond repeat tutorials, it just doesn't have the seamless textures over the top. So I'm going to start on a layer above the sketch diamond for this one. So I've got the template in here. If you want to try a free template with a slightly different floral pattern, you can find the link for that in the description below and also a tutorial video for that. So I'm going to add a layer above the sketch diamond and I'm going to stamp some floral shapes into these circles here. So I'm going to use the tulip brush here from the flower shapes brush set that also comes with these canvases, and let's just stamp that out into these circles, see how big it is. So I think that will do for the smaller ones, so we'll start with those. And I'm going to turn snapping off to put these in. So what you want to do is to stamp these flowers, or draw your own flowers, into anything that's inside a black circle. All of the parts in blue are what we're going to make by duplicating it around the canvas later. So although the stem here is blue, the circle is black, we put the flower in that one. So I'm going to put this one in there. And then to do the rest, you can either duplicate these around if you've got plenty of layers available, or you can just draw on the same layer, stamp another one in, grab your select tool, and then use that to move them around. I think sometimes it is easier to just draw them in on the same layer and do this rather than having to go into your layers panel and duplicate them each time. So I'm going to go and do them like that. And there's one more of these smaller ones to do in here. And then we've got the bigger ones to do, so let's bring the brush size up a bit for this one. If you wanted to, you could make these like different shaped flowers. You don't have to stick to bigger and smaller versions of the same flower. If you want some more ideas for ways to use these floral templates, I've got a whole playlist of trailing floral template tutorials with different ways of drawing flowers, like side view or spreading them out into filling gaps. I'll put a link for that below. So again here, although the stem is blue, the circle, the flower is black, so we add those in here. And then finally this one down here. Obviously you don't have to use stamps to draw these flowers, you could draw these in freehand as you go. So there's all the flowers in, and for the leaves and stems I'm going to stick to using these in exactly the same position as is shown here, so I'm not going to bother to put those in on the sketch layer. If you wanted to add leaves in or take things in a slightly different direction, then I would draw these in on the sketch layer so that you can duplicate them around the rest of the flowers like we're going to do now. So let's flatten all this down with our sketch diamond, then we'll duplicate that layer, turn snapping and magnetics back on, and they're both all the way up, and we'll drag this out into each of the corners until it snaps into place there with those orange lines, and you'll see them crossing in the middle as well. And then we repeat that into each of the corners. So duplicate again, drag it up and over to the left, snapping it into place. Duplicate the bottom layer again, drag it up and over to the right, snapping that into the corner, and then duplicate again and drag it down. Then you can merge those top 4 layers together, and so that we can keep track of what's what, I'm just going to tap on that and invert the colour. So the only ones we're going to need to draw are these orange ones that are part of the black motifs, and we can see as we're drawing them what is going to be up against them because we've put them all around the outside now. So that's all the sketching I'm going to do for this one. As I said, if you wanted to add bits in, then I would recommend doing those on the middle diamond and then bringing them to the outside so you can see how everything plays out against each other. Once you're ready to go on and illustrate your motifs, we're going to turn on the pattern group here. And this is where we're going to trace over anything that's a black motif. And although I've drawn these flowers in this peach colour, the circles around the outside are the bits we need to pay attention to, and those are black. So add a layer above this. I'm going to turn this pattern marker off now, and we can start illustrating the stems. So on this particular canvas, the places where it crosses the edges of the diamond on both sides, that's essentially what makes this a trailing floral. So we've got this line here, starts up here, comes down, and then crosses over here, and then by the time it gets to there, that's the same line as up there. And also here, we've got this line that comes in and joins on here. So on this canvas, I'm going to start behind this flower, bring that down to there, and then we'll use that as a guide to get all the other lines in place. So we are on an empty layer. I need my tracing crayon, and I'm going to start up here and bring it down to just past this line. Nice and smooth. And then when we want to fill this part in and join it up to here, where this line's going to start is actually this bit here. So we need to bring that up here, and then we can draw the rest of that line in. So to do that, we put a mark across each of these corners, duplicate that layer, and drag it up and over to the left. So now we want to go back on the layer that we drew, this one here, and then we can start up here and bring this down and join it in. So we'll start up here with this. Might take you a few goes to get it smooth to start off with. And then we can join that in there. And then still on this same bottom layer, I'm going to put these two parts in now. So I'm going to start up here with this flower and join that in. Then we can put this flower in, the flower stem, sorry. Try and make that a bit more curved. And then we can put these in down here. Then we can add this one in. That little mark there is just off the bit that we duplicated. That's not on this layer that we're drawing on now. So the next part to do is this line here, but what we need to do is to merge that in with this part of the stems here. So we're going to go back down to our bottom layer, and it's this part here that we need to bring down. So we duplicate that and drag it down and over to the left, snapping it into place there. And now we've got these stems here, we can go down to our bottom layer, the one with all of these parts on, and we can draw this in and merge it in with that bit there. And then last of all, we just need to draw this one in here. And that is all the complicated joining bits up done for this until we get to this extra group. So we can delete the bits that we duplicated. And now we've just got this layer with where we've drawn over the black dotted lines. And now we can just go in and draw in all the stems for the leaves. Then once you have all your stems drawn in, we're ready to draw in the leaves. So add a layer underneath, and we'll draw those in blue, I think, the lighter colour. So now the leaves are done, we can go ahead and draw in the flowers. So I'll add a layer above. Should probably pick a background colour first. Let's go for this mid blue for the background. So I think I'm going to draw these in blue so that they blend in with the stems actually. So let's draw those in. And this one here, although the stem is blue, the flower, the boundary around the flower is black, so we will draw this one on this layer. But I think it would be quite nice to be able to see where those stems come. So what I'm going to do is just reduplicate this layer down here. It's already got the corner marks on that we put on earlier. So I'm going to bring that down, and that will make it easier for when I go onto the right layer, drawing these parts on there, so I can make sure they line up properly with the stem. Same for this one here. Although the stems for this flower aren't going to be on this black pattern group, the flower is. So with these motifs here, these are actually the flowers that go on these pink ones here. So we haven't got drawn in the stems for those yet. So I'm going to draw these first, and then I'll use where these are when I draw the stems in later. And now we can draw in the tulip shapes underneath those. And I think I'm going to draw those in this greeny gold colour. So now we've got all of our black motifs in, we can draw the ones in the extra group, the pink ones. So we're going to swipe down with 3 fingers, copy all, and come up here to our extra group, turn that on, tap on the extra label, swipe down with 3 fingers and paste. And then that's going to bring a copy of everything up here. Then we duplicate this layer, bring half of it over this way and snap it to this side, and then bottom part we snap over to this side. Then we can merge those two together, and then we need to draw in these parts here. Now as we were drawing these, remember I said we can just match these stems up to the flowers. So what we need to do is to bring these flowers up here. So we can duplicate this, drag it up and over to the left, duplicate the bottom one again and drag it up and over to the right until they're snapped into place there. Then we can easily see where these flower stems need to come out of. And if I pinch these two together there and hide them, you can see it's these pink ones here, but they're blue now because we've put that bit in there. So we can add a layer above and grab our dark blue and add these stems in. So I'll start with this one, and then I'm going to merge it down here, coming out of the middle of where I've drawn these. Don't worry about it being over the top of the flower. There we go. And then we can draw in the leaves underneath. At this point, we could actually turn this bit off so that we're not confused about which bits we are and aren't drawing. So you could turn this extra bit off, and then you'll clearly see in pink the bits that you need to draw. And all of these are in place now, so we don't need that one that we shifted across anymore. So that's all of our extra motifs illustrated now. So now we can turn the extra group off and come back to that later if we're going to add some shading to it, which I think we will add some shading to this pattern. And I'm not 100% set on the colours yet. I'm going to turn my sketch layer off, and I'm going to have a play around with the colours. I'm not sure on these flowers. So I just had a little play around with the colours, and I've changed the leaves to the same colour as the stems, and I've made the flowers this pink colour. So now I'm going to do some shading. I'm going to add a layer above the flowers, and I'm going to make it a clipping mask, and I'm going to grab this hot red colour, and I'm going to do some of this on the bottom of the flowers. It's looking so vibrant and bright. I'm going to add a layer above now, clip that down. I'm going to make this one colour dodge 40%, and I'm going to use 50% grey. So I'm going to go to the disc, double tap here, and then with the same brush I'm just going to add that to the top of the flowers just to lighten it a bit. Because I've got my leaves and my stems the same colour, I'm actually going to merge them onto the same layer now. So I'm going to pinch to merge them, and then I can shade over those as a whole. So I'm going to add a layer, clip it down, make this one colour burn 40, and then with this same grey colour I'm going to draw it over the stems and just going up into the leaves a bit. So I'm not going all the way out into the edges of the leaves. I'm also going to go up towards the flowers as well. And then underneath that I'm going to add another layer and make this one colour dodge 40%. So this one's going to make it lighter with the same grey colour. I'm just going to add touches of that to the outsides of the leaves. Then I'm going to go up to the sepals, these ones here, add a layer above that, make it a clipping mask, and this one's going to be colour burn 40. And I'm just going to darken the bottoms of these where they're attached to the stem. You could use any kind of soft shading brush for this if you don't have the same brush set that I do. And then add a layer underneath, and we'll make this one colour dodge 40. And we'll just add a touch of that to the outsides of those. And then because I really like that speckledy look, I'm gonna draw over all of these layers with that grey colour with that speckles brush. And that's just added that little bit extra texture in there. So now the next thing to do is copy these textures on our extra motifs. So let's show this layer again. And I'll hide the pattern layer underneath, and let's get rid of those so we can just see that now. It's a bit less distracting. And on this one I need to make this one match what I did underneath, which is having those the same colour and merging those together. And then I'm just going to repeat the shading on these. So now that the shading's finished on this, we're ready to start building our tile out. So the extra group here, if you've got enough layers spare to be able to duplicate the group and then flatten it, then do that. I'll hide these two for now. If you don't have enough spare layers, you can hide everything else except what you want to duplicate. Swipe down with 3 fingers, copy all, come up to the top here, swipe down again and paste that in. And that will do the same thing as duplicating and flattening. So now we'll put the background colour in, and this is the flattened copy of the extra group. We need to put this back in on the edges now. So we, on the right layer and an alpha lock it, just put a mark going off both of these corners, swipe to duplicate, drag one over to the left and snap it there, and one over to the right and snap it there. Pinch those together, erase these extra marks, and then we can put our pattern tile back in. None of these extra parts overlap with the flowers at this point, so it doesn't matter whether this is on top or underneath. So we can merge these two together, but when we duplicate these around the outside, we need to make sure that we've got the stems here are going underneath these ones. I'll explain that in a second. So duplicate, and we've already got the corner marks still in there. So then we just bring this into each one of the corners. And before we merge these together, we need to get them all in the right order. You can see here, this layer with the stems needs to be underneath this one. So let's erase the corner marks first. So you can see there's a corner mark, so that's this one. And on this one here, there's a corner mark. And then on the bottom layer, you've got those. Don't want to forget to erase those. So now let's try getting everything in the right layer. So we need to find what layer's down here in the corner. That's this one. So this one needs to go underneath the main group. That's solved that problem there. And then I think it's this one here. This one needs to go underneath the main group as well. Just have a look around at all the flowers and make sure there's not any stems sticking up on top of the flowers. I think we're okay there. So now these can be merged all onto one layer, and that is our seamless pattern tile. To check it's working, we can swipe down with 3 fingers, copy all, swipe down again and paste. Let's hide this one underneath, and then we can bring this and snap it into the middle there, 1800 pixels, and we've got the orange lines there. duplicate and bring that over here. Just zoom in to make sure that that's all looking all right there in the middle, which it is. So that is how this pattern is looking in Repeat. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to share your pictures on Instagram, don't forget to tag me at Becky Flaherty so I can see them and share them in my stories. Any questions you've got, let me know here in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this every week, don't forget to subscribe. Everything that I've mentioned here in this video is linked below in the description. That's all from me this week. Have fun, stay creative, and I will see you next time.